Hi there folks, Steve Maloney here. Today I'm going to do a short tour of the first two sections of the Royal Mile. Now, as you can see, I'm standing on the Castle Esplanade and I'm going to start from here and work my way down through the Castlehill and down to the Lawnmarket. So without further ado, let's go. So today we start our tour of the Royal Mile from the castle. Now if you look in front of us, you'll see a round building. That is known as the Half Moon Battery, and to the left of that you'll see the Royal Palace. Now this is where the Royal Mile gets its name. It's roughly a mile from this palace to the Palace of Holyrood House at the bottom of the Royal Mile. In front of us is the castle gates, and as we spin round you can see Ramsay Garden. This group of apartments was built in 1893 and was the brainchild of Patrick Geddes, who was a town planner at the time. It actually surrounds an original house called Ramsay Lodge, which was the home of Alan Ramsay Sr., who was a prominent wigmaker and poet in Edinburgh at the time. So that dates back to 1733 originally. And as we come down here, we're going to look towards Arthur's Seat. Arthur's Seat is the dome in the middle, and in front of it is Salisbury Crags. This is an extinct volcano in the centre of Edinburgh. And if we look down to the right, we'll look at the south side and George Heriot's School. George Heriot's School, incidentally, was the inspiration for Hogwarts in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter. Now, as we make our way down the Esplanade to this stunning old building here, this is known as Cannonball House. This was built in the 1400s and extended in the 1600s, and on the side wall there is a stray cannonball from when the castle was held under siege by the Jacobites in the 1700s. And if I just come up to this building here, it's just above this window here, you'll see a little cannonball lodged in the side of the building. See it there? That's known as Cannonball House. Today it's a restaurant, and it used to be an annex to the school that was next door to it. Now as we walk down to the side of Ramsay Garden, we will come to the Witch's Fountain. Now this Witch's Fountain was put here in 1894 by Patrick Geddes, and it was to commemorate the witches who were executed in the Middle Ages. Witch's Fountain. And as we work our way onto the top of Castlehill, we are faced with the Scotch Whisky experience. This is a shop, a museum, and a tour experience as well. And if you can see at the top of the building, you'll see Castlehill School. This was an old primary school, and this was the annex, the Cannonball House. And slightly down from that, we come to James Thomson's Witchery. James Thomson is a famous restaurateur, and he has a magnificent, opulent restaurant down in the basement of Boswell Court. This really is a stunning looking building. Sat right next to the Highland Tolbooth Kirk. And here we have the Camera Obscura, which is an illusion of mirrors and stuff. But this is the Witchery here. Scotch Whisky experience, Cannonball House, and the Castle Esplanade. So just down from the Royal Mile, we have the other side of Ramsay Garden, and it's a delightful looking little street. We'll just have a little wander along here and let you see it before we head back down the Royal Mile. That there is the private gardens. There. And this is the Ramsay Garden. Beautiful collection of streets. It's like stepping back in time. Absolutely stunning. Let's have a little look around here. And it's supposed to look older than it actually is. It's only 1893, 94. There we go. And that there is Ramsay Lodge, the original house. And it was known as the Goose Pie House because of the shape of the roof, which you can see from Princess Street. So as we come back onto the Royal Mile, we are faced with the Highland Tollbooth Kirk, which today is known as the Hub. This was built in 1845 as a magnificent looking church and is also the highest point in Edinburgh. So let's have a little walk down Castlehill onto the Lawnmarket. So as we make our way down Castlehill, we see this little building on the left hand side. Now this is the back of the new college, which is the School of Divinity for Edinburgh University, and this was built in 1845 and is far more impressive from the other side. But this was once the location of the palace of Mary de Guise, who was the mother of Mary Queen of Scots. Her palace was right here, and it was pulled down in the early 1800s as it was ruinous, and this was built in 1845 and it's known as the New College. So as we make our way from Castlehill to the Lawnmarket, we work our way down to this little section here. Now this is the start of all the little closes that Edinburgh is so famous for. I'm going to take you down Riddles Court. This is absolutely spectacular. It was renovated a few years ago, and it was built in 1590 by Baillie John McMorrin, who was a local, like what you would call an MP nowadays. And over the time, King James VI has dined here, and the philosopher David Hume has lived here. It's absolutely spectacular. And if you're ever in the Lawnmarket, just have a little walk down this little aisle here. Riddles Court it's called. It's like a journey through time. Look at this. Absolutely magnificent. Like I say, built in 1590. What on earth did they know about building in 1590 that they didn't know nowadays? Vivendo decimus, Latin for by living we learn. And this takes us into the little forecourt. Isn't this absolutely unique? What an amazing restoration job they've done. Look at that. It's like a step back in time. Nowadays it's Riddles Court. There we go, Riddles Close. And it's the Patrick Geddes Centre. A place, a business centre, a place of learning. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. This gate is usually closed here, so we're quite lucky today. It's closed at the weekend, and there is just a little story about the history of the building. So I'm going to take you out of here and across the road to the Writers' Museum. So we'll just come across here, but before we get there, we are faced with Gladstone's land. Now this is a house, a merchant's house from the 1500s called Thomas Gladstone, and he would have lived on the sort of middle floors, and there would have been a shop at the bottom, and the cheaper accommodation would have been at the top. That's owned by the National Trust, and it's currently closed because of COVID, but let's have a little walk across here into Lady Stairs Close. Into Lady Stairs Close, and you'll see the Writers' Museum. Here we go, it's coming into view now. Now this is a little, this little square is called Macker's Square, and it's basically a monument to writers over the last 700 years. But this here is the Writers' Museum. And when it's open, it's a museum to Robert Louis Stevenson, Sir Walter Scott and Robert Burns. And it has Sir Walter Scott's slippers, walking stick, bits and pieces from all three of them. And then we have this little lane here and the Jolly Judge pub. Wonderful. So as we come to the bottom of the Lawnmarket, we come to Deacon's House Cafe. Now this was the workshop of a cabinet maker called Deacon Brodie, who was a respected cabinet maker by day and housebreaker by night. So he would work in people's houses during the day, making furniture in their houses, but he was also a talented locksmith. And during the day he would take impressions of the keys to their house, and he would rob their houses at night. And he eventually got caught when he robbed the customs office in the Canongate further down the hill, and he robbed them of, I think it was £8,000, which was an absolute fortune in those days. So there we have it. The Lawnmarket. Just after the traffic lights we have the High Court, and we have the French Consulate, which is originally the Midlothian County buildings. These buildings are both early 1900s, and they're both set in the ashlar sandstone. And as we look down from the side of the High Court, we can see the old Bank of Scotland headquarters, established in 1674. There we go. So folks, I hope you enjoyed my little tour of Castlehill and the Lawnmarket on the Royal Mile. Tune in for the next part, which is the High Street. Thank you very much for watching.